York Times reached out to evangelical voters to get a sense of how they feel about Donald Trump and his presidency so far. And what the reporters found was that, well, first of all, they got 1,500 responses from evangelicals. And they noticed that Trump had lost significant support among young female evangelicals. And so I wanted to give you some of the details on that. One of the women who actually responded to the New York Times was a woman by the name of Alexandria. She's 22 and she now identifies as a Democrat. This is what she said. She said, "I was pulled out of Smith College in 2015 when I told my parents that I was rethinking the legitimacy of anti-gay theology. I thought, God is going to have to forgive me. I'm not going to die in this culture war." She said that she started to change her political opinions when, quote, "I secretly started borrowing books from the library."
My favorite quote ever.
Amazing.
I gotta say, that is a great quote. I am stunned that a person in that way of thinking went to Smith in the first place. Like, what did her parents think was gonna happen at Smith?
Yeah, but look, they want people to get a college education because they want them to be successful. They just don't want them to get a college education.
Yeah.
So they want them to get the degree to make money. That's why they attack colleges all the time. They're like, on the other hand, they might go to the library. They might learn a thing or two.
That's why they have so much disdain for colleges and education. One more quote from her. She says, "I gave a communion message in 2016. It was, our God chooses to die the death of all these marginalized people. He dies like Matthew Shepard, like a kid at the hand of the state. He was a refugee. My church reprimanded me for abusing the pulpit."
Yeah, well, that's a young person breaking with her upbringing.
Yeah. And read the piece because it's story after story of a young person who was like, I don't know if I really agree with some of the stuff that my church is saying that I need to believe in. And so and Trump really highlighted some of those issues for them. Because remember, young people are a lot more open, young evangelicals at least, are a lot more open to the more liberal side of social issues than older evangelicals, which is why you're seeing some of them, especially women, break away from the religion.
This is why it's so critical to sort of get out of whatever bubble you're in. I got news for you. For those parents, that girl went to Smith and she met some gay people. And
it turns out they were not evil.
Right, turns out like they were smart and friends, and then they talked to him and she was like, wow, you're not evil. I don't really see why would there be a world where you're going to hell?
Yeah, and so look, Tommy Chung did this last night on our pre-election coverage too. But here's their biggest problem, this. It's a cell phone, okay? And it's the library. And it's right at their fingertips. And they don't have to go to Smith, and they don't even have to physically go to the library, and they don't have to check out books. It's all right here. And so when I was growing up, you had to get a Bible, you had to get a Quran, and you had to read through it, etc. And then if you wanted to research, is it true, is it not true? You had to go to the library, and you had to do all these things. Now you just go, well, the Bible says that, really? Let me look that up. Is that true? If the Quran says that, really? Are we really supposed to do that? That seems weird.
Well, I like that you mentioned that because in story after story, response after response, these young evangelicals would go back to the Bible and read about the importance of helping the poor and not judging others and trying to do good through religion. And they're like, wait, how come the Jerry Falwells of the world are telling me something very different from what Jesus preached? And I think that's really fascinating. I mean, we talk about how people don't really read the Bible all the time. But in this case, some of these young people want to take the good parts out of their religion and they want to practice that rather than the hatred and the judgment.
And by the way, they're their best hope for their religion, even though their elders don't realize it. Because if the right wing captures religion as it has in this country, unfortunately, and keeps emphasizing the parts that are divisive and hateful and filled with fear, they're not going to convince any young people. They're going to drive them away from religion.
Yeah.
And if you've got good moral, religious young people who say, no, let's emphasize the positive in the books, that's your only hope to keep religion alive. Otherwise, everybody's going to look it up and realize it's not true, right? So I think they're trying to help them, but of course, as usual, they don't see it that way, the older religious folks. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.